So the plan was to let the channel run on autopilot this week, but I have a slight reprieve which gives me enough time to talk about the Studio Series figures instead, so let's do a little bit of that, and we have to start where every movie toy line starts, Bumblebee. Of course we do, and yeah, I've been getting plenty of people asking me how I felt about this one, because a few other reviewers got it faster than I did, and oh boy. So let's see what we're getting into. For starters, he is the 70s Camaro Bumblebee. This is a very interesting and a very smart choice because this is the one Bumblebee design that wasn't redone over and over and over. The first toy that came out was the only toy that came out, and it wasn't a great one. It actually broke because the automorph wasn't too clear, and it was very easy to accidentally ruin your toy. So this was actually a pretty good decision by Hasbro's part. As such, he is the traditional Bumblebee, where he has this very nice vivid yellow. It's not too bright. It's just that nice shade of just, not obnoxious and, just that nice shade of yellow. And of course, the black race stripes going all the way down from this side down to this. Skipping the top, of course, because that wouldn't be accurate. So we do have plenty of paint going on here. And this is the nice thing about the toys. Let me get this one out of the way. The paint on this guy is slathered on. Aside from all of the stuff that's translucent parts painted over in matching yellow, which actually isn't quite matching. They still have trouble with that. The paint on this thing is actually really nice. So we have a fully painted silver bumper and grille. The headlights have a nice bit of metallic blue to them, so those actually look really good. Back here, full bumper painted, and the taillights painted, which is something that usually gets skipped. But my favorite detail that almost always gets skipped are the wheel hubs. Here, fully painted. He is a fully detailed and very nice looking 70s Camaro. I'm also happy they didn't do any kind of dirt or rust or battle damage type paint apps. It's a nice clean 70s Camaro look, kind of like he just took the vehicle form and it's still nice and new right off the factory floor. Very nice. So that's the good. What else can we say? Well, if you haven't noticed by how he fits in my hand, he's small. He is considerably small. So if I take a Legends figure and have him there, you can kind of see he's very diminutive. And we'll get into more of that once we get to the robot mode. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot we can do in this mode. He rolls. That's about all you can say about that. He does have weapon storage. So the weapon in this case is his arm blaster, so we can peg that into the bottom side of the vehicle. And it looks absolutely ridiculous. It looks like a big propane tank fell out of his trunk and is just kind of trailing behind, just barely hanging on to the bumper. It keeps tailgaters away, but not too much for actual weapon storage. Not that you could. He's pretty densely packed into this vehicle shell, so yeah, it's about all they could really do. So that's the vehicle. Not anything, super special, but the paint is super nice, and I do really like that they went to the classic original Bumblebee design rather than the modern Camaros. Here's where it gets a little frustrating. Now, the transformation on this guy is a little bit more involved than I would like. A whole bunch more involved than I would like, especially for its size. That also does not account for some QC issues. We're going to see them here in a bit. Inevitably, something on this toy is going to give me problems. So I'm going to try and go carefully, and we are going to play a game of how many parts are going to fall off of this toy mid-transformation. I will say, getting him into vehicle mode is much harder than getting him into robot mode, so we at least have the nicer version of that. I'm going to go ahead and fold out and do all I need to do with the arms, because it doesn't really matter in the scheme of this transformation. I'm going to pop doors here, give me a little bit more clearance for the part I hate the most, which is trying to get this lip past his robot mode bits, because it's all one big piece, or at least it's supposed to be. And it has to start with getting this unclipped and off. And if I get lucky, wow, I'm actually very surprised, because this is the hinge that is so problematic. This is the one that does not want to hold on, and it comes off. at the drop of a hat because it is extremely loose. It's supposed to peg into another piece here and doesn't even do that, and there it goes. All I'm doing is trying to shore it up, and oh, it just falls. Okay, so let's get this toy transformed so we can actually see what we're doing here. So I'm going to fold this down here, get that belly piece tabbed into his spine. That will mostly complete his torso. We're going to go back to that and clean it up here in a bit, but now we need to focus here on the bottom side of this. For starters, this little piece needs to unclip. You can tell I'm taking my time on this figure, and that's mostly because the parts, because of the toy's size, are very small, and many of them are on very small hinges that aren't pinned. They are just friction held, which is a little bit nerve-wracking, not gonna lie. This toy is a little bit risky for me to transform, especially because there's some of my favorite clear plastic hinges, like these, which have to wrap around like so. We'll go ahead and fold out that front too. The foot here has a nice little slide here to close it up, but it also has a tab on it that's supposed to peg into the backside of his wheel. Does not quite on mine. It's because it's a very small pin, it's a very small tab. Again, I think a lot of the toy's problems just come from the size they had to work with and the complexity the transformation has to be because it's a movie design. Movie designs are inherently complex to transform, so it's a little bit frustrating to deal with. I'm trying to go slowly, not only because I don't want to break anything mid-review, but I also want to make sure you guys can see exactly how this guy transforms because the instructions go from one mode to the other. I'm going the opposite direction. Alright, so that's good enough for what we need. So we're going to go ahead and fold that. Fold this and get it into that cavity there in the body so we have a nice place to tuck this away. It's supposed to tab in there. There's like a little tab where it looks like it can friction in. I can't use that because the hinge is going to come undone again. So it's just the best I can do. And final little details to clean up. These fold down here, which kind of helps hold the backpack on, but also that's kind of a weird little bit of transformation engineering. And then his pecs have to be at a slant because don't your pecs slant? Of course, like, why wouldn't they? So that is going to be our completed robot mode after a very long transformation sequence. This is a very complicated toy to transform, and the result, admittedly, is at first a nice looking rendition of Movie Bumblebee. At this point, all renditions of Movie Bumblebee should look nice. They have had more than enough chances, they have had more than enough time, and this is by far the most experienced design that they have at rendering at this point. I would say even more so than G1 Optimus Prime. We've just had that many Bumblebees. So, giving you a close-up of the head, horrifying as it is still your standard Bumblebee. Though they've rendered the face with as much detail and sculpting as they can to replicate the movie. A lot of these toys are based off of the actual CAD models of the movie models. That does give Bumblebee a lot of detail, but it also means his face is far more skeletal than they usually are in the toys, and he has a very much, I've lost my face in a very horrible Thresher accident type of look to him, which, you know, some people are into, but yeah, so he looks appropriately horrifying. So, as I said, yeah, he looks very much like Movie Bumblebee, and because he has that movie style of I'm going to hide all of my vehicle parts behind me somewhere, he has a lot of details that we did not see in the vehicle mode. For starters, the arms are done up in a gray plastic. There's plenty of gray plastic now strewn about all over. Yellow paint going down the side in order to detail out what's supposed to be little bits of his residual car mode. You can also find the same yellow paint here down the shin with a big spiky knee. It's actually molded in the gray, which you can see there in the center. Lots of nice sculpting detail. I give them credit. There's a lot of detail going in and a lot of intricate paint, blacks and yellows mixing into the various parts. Color-wise, I will admit, it bugs me that his hips are black. because the original promo shot they had of this toy, the hips are gray, and he actually looks far more like he does in the movie, and now he looks like he's wearing chaps, and it just kind of takes me back to all the old movie Bumblebees using black that he didn't show in the movie, and it's, you know, it just feels out of place here. I'm pretty sure they just wanted more black in the robot mode, but yeah, it's a little bit just annoying, and that's a nitpick. You know, there's far better things for me to peck at than just, yeah, I don't like the black thighs. Joint-wise, everything is okay on this toy. Maybe a little bit looser than I want, but he does have a few oddities. Again, we are dealing with friction hinges, so one element in particular that's a little bit worrisome is his elbow here, because you are going to have to swap it. In order to actually give him a weapon, you have to actually take his forearm off of the elbow, which has come off, and the hinges split on me more than once doing that. And then we can pop on his actual weapon accessory, which is his arm cannon. I'm happy they didn't try to make it transform from one arm to the other, because that never really ends up well. So you at least have that going for you. You know, so it's a nice stable accessory. It looks really good. It's actually so bulky, I kind of wonder if they couldn't have just made it an accessory that pops onto the arm, and that you don't have to do that weird, awkward swap that risks breaking the toy. But it is what it is. At least it works, so I give it that. I will say, I wish he came with more than that, because as you're starting to find out, this guy just does not really feel like a $20 figure. Paint, yes, I give you this. He is loaded with paint, and that's something that a lot of deluxes don't get these days. On the other hand, so yeah. See, I can remember back in 2006 when people were upset that Classics Bumblebee was $10 when he was so much smaller than the other Classics, and now I hear people apologizing for the new Bumblebee being $20. Yeah, I know they're going for scale, but it doesn't really... I don't know, I don't care about scale if it means I'm overpaying for a toy. It needs something else in the box in order to justify the price. That way it doesn't end up, you know, just slightly larger than a $10 toy. It's not just the height. You can also tell Classics Bumblebee quite a bit bulkier, quite a bit more solid, lots more plastic content for your $10, and of course more solid construction than this Bumblebee, who, you know, has a few hollowed out parts here and there, which is just typical of current Transformer design. Yeah, the size is really the breaking point for me here. He just doesn't feel like he's worth the price he's being asked for. Articulation-wise, does he make up for it there? Well, ball joint here in the neck, so he has up and down, plenty of rotation around. Decent rotation, or decent ball joint here at the shoulder. Because of the engineering and those gaps and how tall his shoulder is, he does have a few points where it's a little bit restricted. So that's unfortunate. Full 360 degree on the bicep, 90 degree elbow. Waist joint, which is good. I've seen a few of these Bumblebees skip that. At least the hips are completely unhindered. A little bit loose on some positions on mine, so buyer beware. Thighs do have a rotation in them, a little bit tight, so watch your joints and make sure nothing pops off. 90 degree knee, and the foot, which can rock back and forth. No ankle tilt due to the way it transforms. Still, decent articulation, so I give him that. And I do like his cannon accessory, even though I don't like having to put it on. That said, he's just, you know, balance issues maybe, because he is wearing a ton of car parts on his back. Okay, I can't give him a good pose. I can't give him a good pose, so we'll just pose him like this. So at the very least, articulated. Maybe not balanced, but articulated. Let's see. There is one other thing he comes with, so I'm going to cut to that right now. It's a display base made out of the cardboard insert that is in the packaging for Bumblebee. Now, it is replicating the original scene from the movie where we first see him in robot mode with the place. I'm not even sure what kind of place it was, but it certainly was a place, and it is where we first saw this design. So it's an appropriate backdrop. But it also occurs to me that every Transformer sold in a box has some cardboard insert in him and is usually printed up very nicely. This one just happens to be made to match the character, which does that, okay, fine. it just feels like you're making an accessory out of something that comes in the box anyway, so this really doesn't impress me all that much. And I'm generally not going to use it because he's going to be on a display shelf with all the other toys in this lineup. So, I don't know. I don't feel any draw to the $20 price point in this. It's just something they figured out they could do, and they're making a big deal out of it. It's not. And with that out of the way, we are going to wrap up. This toy is certainly not worth his asking price. It's just too small. It doesn't come with enough. Yes, it is lavishly painted and very well detailed, but for the size that it is, like, this isn't like a Marvel Legends toy where even though it's small in the package, you know, someone else in the wave is way bigger than your normal size deluxe to make up for it, or this one comes with a huge piece of a Build-A-Figure. No, it's just $20 for the sake of being $20. I'm not feeling it. And the cardboard cutout does not make me feel any better about it. This, if it's like any other movie Bumblebee, will eventually go on sale. Wait for it then. Or at the very least, wait until April to see if all those joint tolerances are better. Because this toy just doesn't feel good to play with. There's too many small parts. There's too much that relies on friction and not solid engineering. It's just, there's been so many better movie Bumblebees. Wait for this one. Trust me.